All right, folks, I finally gave in and I bought my first battery-powered chainsaw. Check it out. Here it is, the newest chainsaw added to the collection. This is a Stihl MSA 160C. And I purchased two AP 300 batteries. If you know anything about these battery saws, you'll know that this is what they consider the professional grade line of battery saws from Stihl. And the reason I went with the 160 as opposed to the 200 or the 220 or even the 300 was because of that right there. It comes equipped with a 12-inch mini roller, and it's already in quarter pitch. Probably can't see that. It's already in quarter pitch and 43 gauge chain. Now, why is that important? It's important because to run a carving bar on this saw, you need a quarter pitch sprocket. It's just a bunch of numbers, but basically it's a small diameter of the drive length so that you can fit a dime tip carving bar on this. But I will be honest, the bar that comes on this with this little mini roller isn't bad at all. I would call that a little larger than a quarter tip carving bar. So it may not even need a carving bar on it to see if I decide to put a dime tip carving bar on it. I do have some brand new Stihl carving bars that I could throw right on this. I have the chain and everything I need, so I could outfit it with a carving bar rather quickly. I'm gonna try it out with this standard mini roller sprocketed bar to see if I like it. And if I do, I may just keep this setup. Now, why a battery saw? Well, there's one really big reason, and that is that we have been asked to do a demonstration carve, and it's actually at a golf course, and they have some concerns about noise level. And so one of the things I said is that we could go with a battery saw and be able to do it quieter. And I'm kind of using this event to cover the cost of buying some battery saws. So this is the first of what I hope to be a complement of 2 or 3 chainsaws. It is quieter than a gas saw by quite a bit, especially a few of my saws that are really loud. This electric one is going to be much quieter. Normally noise isn't that big of an issue for me because where we live, we don't really have to worry about bothering the neighbors, but this will be quieter. Another thing that's nice about the battery saw is that if I decided at some point in the future to create an indoor carving space, I can run the battery saw and not worry about the carbon monoxide issues that you have with the gas saw, obviously. I am pretty excited to see how smooth this operates. I'm excited about the consistent RPM as opposed to running a gas saw and having to worry about a little bit of chain chatter just because the RPM isn't always consistent. Especially when you're carving, you're not always running the saw wide open, and so it might be easier to control the speed with the electric saw and keep a steady cut than it will be with the gas saw. All that remains to be seen. I have never used a battery operated saw. I have used a plug-in chainsaw way back in my early days of chainsaw carving, and it's just a standard bar, and it did the job, but I definitely was not impressed. I'm hoping this is a step up from that quite a bit, I'm hoping. I will tell you though, expensive. If you've ever priced these, they're expensive. And really the saw itself isn't that bad. It's not the expensive part of the cost. The trouble with Stihl is when you buy the saw, it doesn't come with a battery and it doesn't come with a charger. And ultimately to do what I'm doing, I really need at least 2 batteries, which is what I've purchased. I purchased the saw, 2 AP 300 series batteries, and a rapid charger. If you want to go ahead and guess, just throw a guess out there. Maybe pause the video and throw a guess in the comments as to how much you think this thing cost. I'll give you a second. Go ahead and pause. Throw your guess down in the comments. All right. If you guessed $980, you would be correct. $982, I think, is some change with tax for the chainsaw, 2 batteries, and a charger. That is super expensive in my opinion. None of my gas saws cost this much. Many of my saws were purchased pre-owned. But even if I'd purchased them new, none of them would cost what this thing cost. Most of them would be half of what this one cost. So yeah, that's not a lot of fun. But because I have the batteries and I have a charger, now I can add more saws that take this battery into the setup without breaking the bank. The saws will be really not a whole lot of the cost. Now, I will say that I'm probably going to need at least one more battery and one more charger, giving me a total of 3 batteries and 2 chargers to really make these where they make sense. Because to compete against gas saws, these have to be charged and ready to go. And I think the only way I'm going to be able to do that is by having 3 batteries and a charger. I am looking at possibly getting a 220 as the next step up from this, or maybe even an AP 300 or an MSA 300. Then that takes a different battery. There's a whole slew of things to consider when you're running these battery saws. But this is the first one in the setup. We're going to see how I like it. I'll be sure to share some videos of me using it, my thoughts on it. As always, I will share all of the things I dislike about it and all the things I like about it. I am also excited about adding this one to the kit because my daughter has expressed interest in learning to chainsaw carve, as well as my wife. And this would be a really good saw for a beginner to learn on. It's a little less intimidating than a gas saw, although these can be just as dangerous, if not more dangerous, because chaps do not like to slow down when they come into contact with an electric motor. These things just have so much torque, they power through. So it's definitely not safer than a gas, but it is less intimidating, it's less loud, it's less jumpy. And so yeah, it's all of those things. It's not super light. It's pretty comparable to one of my smaller gas saws, like my Stihl MS 172 or the 361, the Echo. My Echo 2511 is like half the weight of this, which is crazy because it's a gas saw with probably more power, definitely not as much torque. Again, these are a lot of numbers and a lot of mumbo jumbo on tool talk, but some folks like to hear about the tools. And this is a big step for me because it's my first foray into the battery powered chainsaws. And there's a lot of folks out there who are considering these saws. And so this might be helpful for them to be able to give my feedback and what I think about the saw and whether or not I would recommend it for especially beginners to go with battery over, say, gas saws. It's really hard to say long term whether or not this will take over the gas powered saw in my setup. We'll see. But these things have come a long way from when they first came out, and I really do think it's going to be a good addition to my kit. So stick around for future videos. I'll let you know what I think about it, and we'll definitely put it through its paces. Thanks so much, and take care.